Alright, we should be rolling. Audio should be good. Let's just do a quick playback, make sure music and all that sounds okay. Testing 1, 2, 3. Alright, that sounds alright, I think. So, testing 1, 2, 3. Alright, maybe I can turn up the music for you guys a little bit. I realize that is pretty quiet on your end. Let's try like 20. Let's see how that sounds, and we'll go down from there. So, starting the music. 3, 2, 1, go. Testing 1, 2, 3. Did I somehow mute myself in the process? Nope, I did not. Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Alright, it sounds better, I think. Let's just do one more quick test. I'm unmuting stream. And 1, 2, 3. Alright, you can hear the music. And you can hear me talking over. So I think we're good. Because I realized last time people couldn't really hear the music very well. So turn that up. That should be good. I should hit the record button because I forgot to record last art stream and had to do a makeshift thing. Oh, I also need to adjust the settings for art stream description and stuff on the old YouTube. So give me a hot second for that. And for some reason, I can't set a thumbnail and adjust certain things when it's loaded up for some reason. Let's do 2, maybe 10 quick seconds here. So I find the folder that I'm looking for. Now the question, where did I put, there it is, okay. Uploading the thumbnail, doing this, doing that, not using AI. Okay, that should be good. Everything should be okay. Actually gonna move my YouTube chat somewhere else just so I can see it a tad better. Tad easier. There we go. Just on my end, so I don't have to keep like fumbling about. Alright, so final once over. I'm streaming on both YouTube and Twitch. It seems like that's the case. I have the drawing program I'm using up. I got everything on. I'm recording, which is very important. And yeah, we should be good theoretically. All right. Take a couple sips. All right. So, I need my little hand thing. So, 3. I almost forgot how to like put 3 fingers up with this on. Weird. 3, 2, 1. What's going on, folks? It's me, Next Star Gamer, and today we are doing another art stream. For today, I thought I'd do something kind of interesting. I've been trying to get better at drawing like corpses before, and now I want to start getting better at drawing people. So I'm learning like form, gesture, all that stuff. And I figured, you know what, it might be kind of fun just to do that on stream, you know, show like where I'm at, and kind of just go on from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm using, excuse me, I'm using the program, or the website SketchDaily. Actually, what I should do is copy the website and put it in the description of YouTube. Let me do that real quick, actually. While I'm rambling. In case other people want to use it as well. There we go. That should do it. Alright, sorry about that. But yeah, so I'm going to be using SketchDaily. I'll also add it into the description of the VODs. If I forget, because that could happen, remind me in the comments. I'm going to try and remember, because I am editing this and uploading this today, but I have a tendency of forgetting. So, remind me if I do forget. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the settings on the website. You can select like gender of the people, whether or not they're wearing clothing, their poses, you know, what direction you want from the face. You can also select like body parts or animals or anything like that, and also upload your own pics if you wanted to as well. But for today, since I am doing this on Twitch and YouTube, I know nudity is a thing, and they get pretty squeamish about it. So I'm going to turn nudity off. Normally, I would like to have the website on camera, but I am also a little worried that maybe some of the clothing options might be a little too transparent. So I'm going to like generate the you know, not generate because it's not like it's creating it, but I'm going to you know get a picture loaded up. Then I'm going to copy and paste it into my tablet here. So then you guys can kind of draw along and see what I'm using as a reference. So, with that said, let me get a kind of a page set up here, like a normal size page. We're gonna label this as, once again, you guys can't really see what I'm doing. I don't really have a way to like display this unless I capture the screen itself. And I never really have to do that on the off chance that like personal information does pop up somewhere. Form adjuster live stream. Alright, so we got the page. I am gonna say, just kind of off the bat, I'm running a little late today. It's almost 4 instead of 3, my usual starting time. Last night I had a bit of a anxiety attack kind of happening. I'm still kind of dealing with it today. Like my chest is still tight. I'm just feeling kind of like heavy, like it's kind of hard to breathe. I was a little worried that I wasn't going to actually be able to stream today because of things. I didn't know where I was at. But yeah, I didn't know where I was at. Like, I went for a walk, had a shower, which is also why I'm a tad late as well. And my stomach issues kicked in, so just kind of a rough morning. But I'm doing all right. So if I sound sluggish or moving a little slow, bear with me. But let me make sure I have the settings right. So gender all, clothes yes, positions all, all views, no timer. So yeah, I'm not going to use the timer for this because I don't want to feel rushed. I'm still learning, so I'm still at the learning stages of figuring out the proper gesture and like form and stuff like that. So I feel like trying to rush myself is just going to make me make mistakes. So we got a picture here. Let me do a quick copy, and we'll just paste it here. That's a very large image, larger than I anticipated. There we go. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be referencing for this first sketch. So let me do a quick stretch. Hope everyone's having a pretty good day though. So yeah, so I'm still learning gesture stuff like that. So once again, bear with me. I'm still learning. You know, if you're welcome to give advice, but make sure it's actually advice and not just either insulting or like make sure the advice actually has like some weight to it and not just draw more or do blank without giving a reason. All right. With that said, let's do this. So I'm gonna go back to the first layer in a second, but I want to just kind of like study this for a second. So looking at this, there's kind of a line kind of going from like her finger here all the way down like this to the tip of her toe. I could also draw like kind of a line for her shoulder going like this, and for her leg kind of like this. So that's kind of like the general like gesture that the lady's doing here. So let me see if I can recreate that. So yeah, so we got kind of long form like that. The head is about here. Oh no, the head would actually be lower, right? Because this is the tip of the fingers. So if this is the tip of the fingers, this would be like the elbow, this would be like the shoulder. So her head would be about here. Her head's about here, and shoulders would be about there. And then her leg kind of comes up here. And kind of kicks off in this direction, and then this line actually kind of continues through. Alright, so that's the kind of base gesture. We got the shoulder here, so now we can add like shoulder right here. Add a little point to mark her elbow. Add a little point to mark like her wrist. I'll add like a little rough box gesture to kind of match where her hand is. And then kind of a foreshortening effect where like this is kind of going out kind of towards the out towards but away from the camera, and this is kind of going, it's closer to the camera than I believe the elbow is. And then let's see. How can I simplify her body? So this is her upper torso, like her chest area. This is her stomach. I think this needs to be a little wider. Her leg and her, well, her pelvis is kind of like here. Kneecap. Kneecap would be a little bigger because it's kind of closer towards the camera. Draw her foot in there. We can always add details later. We're just getting the rough shape. And then the foot goes down. The kneecap is about here. Alright, so there is a bit of a perspective thing that I wasn't quite getting until I looked over at the larger image for me. Is that this kneecap actually seems higher up, like it's actually aimed more towards the camera. Let's see if I can still get it to look that way. Then the other leg kind of comes down. Okay, I'm a little off with this bottom line here, I believe, but it should be okay. This kind of goes like that, and then we got the foot, kind of. And like that, you know, of course we have like the sand down here. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. We got the other shoulder, which would be here. Her spine, which is coming down here. And then we can't actually see the rest of the spine because it kind of dips down, and like the rest of her stomach is kind of here. We can't see the rest of her spine. And then arm, kinda. Her elbow would technically be blocked by her foot. elbow would be kind of like here-ish. And her hand is actually kind of flat. And we have her head's about here. And I really hope this is a female. Like it does look like it. I'd be so embarrassed if I was mistaken. That. Add a little bit of weight to the shoulders. Add the hair. Hairline's kind of like here-ish. Okay. So yeah, so the hair would go up here. Kinda. That. And then the hair kind of flows out here a little bit. Hey, that's honestly not a bad sketch. Like, of course, there's things that I could obviously do better. But, not bad. Not bad at all. I do have to sneeze, though. Don't know when that's going to happen. Now, yeah, fun surprise for us all. Okay. So yeah, so like this part of her body, like if we were kind of like boxing this off, right? Kind of go like this. That's the spine. It kind of ends up here, like down here, kind of thing. This kind of flows into her arm, and it kind of goes down, and then this is the other part of her body. The box would basically be like here, kind of thing, twisted. Yeah, I definitely messed up with the perspective on the lower half here. You can add breast line there. Try and add like the abs. Shoulders kind of do like a little bit of flex here. Hey, Mr. Rubber Ducky, how are you doing today? So yeah, her muscle kind of flexes and goes there, and then kind of goes up. I made this a little too thin. Her hand. You've been toying around with my funny drawing tablet that came in today. That's awesome. Yeah, the print pressure does take some getting used to. You are able to turn that off, I believe. So if that's something that you're not quite ready yet, there should be settings under your like the tablet software that is probably that should have downloaded or like should have came with it. You can also, I believe, edit the pressure in whatever drawing program you're using as well, I believe. And then some pens can also have it as well. But yeah, I'm still not great at digital stuff. I'm more of a traditional artist, so I'm still kind of getting used to drawing digital, like on digital, like on my tablet. Um, but yeah, so I'm not quite. I like if I'm like an amateur artist, I'm even less than that for digital. May just need to tweak it. Yeah, I have a Wacom Intuos Pro, so probably I can tweak. Yeah, probably. Um, yeah, Wacom is pretty good. Do you have? I don't know every like brand. Do you have one that has a screen, or do you have one that is just like a drawing surface and you look at your screen? Because I've tried both. I have two that were just like the tablet. Um, that's just a drawing surface, and you have to look at the computer to draw. That takes a little bit of getting used to. Like I couldn't do it. It's one of those things where I couldn't like separate my hand, what I was looking at, from what my hand like from what my eyes were seeing and what my hands were doing. It like I have no idea coordinating my hand with the monitor somehow. My only issue is pen pressure. Yeah, that. Yeah, I know. For me, that was the hardest part of those, and like I couldn't get into it. Like, oh, no worries. Um, but yeah, I could not do it. I tried like for like a good month straight to try and like build up that muscle memory, and maybe I could have, but there was such a disconnect for me that my brain just couldn't process it. Like I literally have two like Helium drawing tablets here that I just don't use because I just could not wrap my head around it. Yeah, I have a display screen tablet. Um, yeah, this is my tablet here. There we go. Kind of, I can't really show it too well, but yeah. So it has a display and stuff on it. They're stupidly expensive though, so I don't recommend it immediately because, yeah, um, because like they're pretty expensive and like I like having like a big surface. Ideally, I would like to get something that I can just like not have to plug in. That I don't have to hook up to my computer. I could just like draw on my couch. The issue is that those type of things, I don't even know if they exist, or if they do, they're stupidly expensive. Heck, this one alone was like $800, I want to say. But my wife got it on sale, and she got it for me for Christmas. So it was a gift from her. But yeah, they're stupidly expensive. Yeah, I'm actually not sure what one this is. I know I have the box around here, but I don't want to get up to grab the box, so I'll do that during my break. Just to show you the brand I bought, because it's probably cheaper now. I got this like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, so it's probably cheaper. All right, so yeah, made a few mistakes with like the positioning, but considering where I was drawing, like even like a couple days ago to where I'm at now, I'm definitely feeling a bit more confident in stuff. There's also an interesting angle, right? Because like her fingers are almost completely symmetrical. Like if you look at it, like look at this, like almost like not perfectly straight line, but that is pretty like I don't even know how you would get your fingers like that. Like that's honestly almost impressive. Um, you can usually flip it around. Maybe. Um, yeah, it just says Huion on the back. Yeah, create a pen display and a bunch of random numbers. Yeah, that's an interesting angle for her fingers. So let me do a little. Ooh, I actually like that the datable eraser in this. It works kind of similar to an actual needed eraser. I like that. So kind of just like that. But yeah, I mostly practice traditional art, just because like that's kind of like where I kind of got my start. But there is something like I that like there is something too digital that like I want to get better at as well. The knuckles are here, and goes down, and then to the wrist. Got my you got it used for $170. That's not too bad. It's like drawing on paper. This is dark magic to me. Not gonna lie, yeah. There's there's a weird like there is like a level of like getting used to it. Like especially if you go like even if you're not like a traditional artist, like I'm willing to bet that even if like you're a really good traditional artist, it will still take someone a good like while, even if you know the fundamentals really well, to get used to drawing on a tablet. Because like there is a weird disconnect to it, and even though some of the the fundamentals are still usable, the the application of the fundamentals becomes different, right? And it's um so like I can definitely see um someone getting like it actually taking someone some time to get used to drawing digital, even if they're actually just good at drawing, you know, traditionally. Uh, do finish touches digitally. Yeah, I definitely know that's a pretty popular thing, especially now with like manga and stuff. They'll do like a quick sketch, scan it, or however they do it, and then they'll do like the final lines, especially for like animation and stuff. I know that's a pretty like common thing for artists to do. Now I did notice now that I looked over at the um, bigger image and not like the small image in the corner here. I noticed that her face is actually like her face line is like here. I thought that was her chin. So oopsie doodles on that one. But I don't think that matters much. I still think like the image, like the idea behind the picture still works. So you need to know perception till anatomy starts making sense in art. Yeah. And interesting with anatomy, right, is that like like I heard when I was trying to like draw people, is that like you always have to study anatomy like a doctor. Know the ins and outs, how the muscles work. And I'm sure knowing that would help, but also I feel like that's a long way to go for a cold drink of water, right? Like that's what you learn after you know how to even draw an arm. right? You know, like understanding like how a, like the human body or animal or anything like that, how you can break down their body into simple shapes. You know, arms are just tubes, hands are just like weird circular squares, fingers are just little tube noodles. You know what I mean? Like, um, heads are just mostly circular with like a bit of a triangular, like sail like thing. Um, you know, if you look at a human skull from the side, it looks more like an oval with like the chin, uh, which which resembles more of like an oval with like a sail on top of it kind of thing. So kind of like this kind of thing. This is awful, by the way, but kind of like that, then kind of like fill up the head, the neck. That's awful, but yeah. So like learning how to like break down and like see basically almost everything you're looking at as a simple basic shape is you deconstruct it into a dummy, then sketch upon it. Kinda, yeah, in a sense. Um, it's a thing where, from what I've been learning, one of the best things to start off doing, um, is just drawing basic shapes. Sounds boring. It's incredibly boring, but knowing how to draw a cube from all perspectives, knowing how to draw a tube or like a cylinder from all perspectives. Um, and like if you're like me with aphantasia, where so like you can't see stuff in your mind, it becomes almost crucial to know how to draw stuff from different angles because I can't visualize it in my head, right? So yes, it's one of those things where you almost start seeing the world differently. So like for me, even though I know what an arm looks like, I can't imagine it in my head. So I have to describe it as like a tube aimed towards me, hand kind of outstretched, so it looks like a box with a tube kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where I have to like almost describe it, something, write it down, and then try to put it on the paper. Or if I'm using, if I'm going from my mind, or if I'm looking at a reference, I try and like look at it as like um in like how those tubes and stuff connect. And when you start getting into gesture, um, which is basically why I started this drawing here, if you can see with this line going down, that is just basically to get like the rough bend of the figure that I'm drawing. So, you know, it gives the drawing more life if you use more curved lines than like straight rigid lines, right? Yeah, guidance lines. So rather than drawing this kind of like this, maybe draw like the shoulder, the hip, like let's say here, stomach, like that kind of thing. Like that works, but what happens is it starts to feel way too stiff, right? It feels like it starts to look like an actual mannequin rather than a human. So, and once again, I'm still learning this myself, so take this with like a bit of a grain of salt. So the idea with gesture, like what I did, like this little sketch here, is getting the rough flow of the body, like how the body moves, in like a very general like flowy movement kind of way. I don't know if that makes sense. It's one of the things where it's gesture is hard to explain because it's just something you feel in a sense. Like it helps to give your drawings more life and energy to them. So it's hard to describe giving life to something that's a picture, if that makes sense. But essentially it captures the your stuff just like movements, I guess. Like, I could have also, if I wanted to, did the gesture lines like this. Let me change the color of my pencil. So, you read something about it. You can find a lot of things in the gesture to make them pop off, from what I've heard, but also need to keep the anatomy in mind or whatever. Yeah, exactly. So like what I did here is I kind of like went from like the tip of the fingers down to the toes. But there's more than one way to do gesture, right? So if you wanted to, you could have started a line from her chest going down. You could also maybe do a line for here. You could also do a line maybe like as I did here for her shoulders. You could, or have that go all the way down for her shoulders like I did there. There's many different ways that you can capture gesture, but the idea to keep in mind is that and once again, I'm kind of like repeating what I read in the book I sent you yesterday or last night, but basically it's like, because nothing in life is perfectly like I mean, you know, there are exceptions, but not a lot of stuff in life is perfectly straight. Things have curves and stuff to them. So you're trying to capture the natural curves of whatever it is you're drawing. I could also, if I wanted to, draw a little gesture line there for her, like, hip and cheek. So like that could be like a decent line. I could also draw off of this line to do kind of that for her leg. I feel like it's too early for me to come when it comes to anatomy, but I got PDFs on it. Yeah, that's the thing. It's one of those things where it took. So I've been drawing regularly for about 2 or 3 years now. Like I've been drawing for most of my life, and I stopped for bullying reasons and stuff like that growing up. But I got back into it like 3 or 4 years ago, and it's one of the things where I'm still learning. I'm still slowly growing, and it's one of those things where there's going to be times where you're like, I get this. You're picking up on it. You're like, you understand it. It's like speaking your language. And then you're going to get to a point where you might as well be reading a different language, right? It's going to feel like, what am I doing? I don't understand this. And those are going to be frustrating. It's like I can mix things up and learn a little bit of everything. Honestly, that's a good thing to do too. Everyone's journey in art is going to be different, right? So, like, honestly, for me, I'm someone where I like to sit down, draw something and get pretty good at it, and then move on. But I also get bored because of my ADHD. So I will sprinkle in other things here and there just to kind of keep it fresh. Like, I've been trying to draw every Pokemon, so occasionally I'll sit on my porch, sketch the next Pokemon. I think I have to draw Wobbuffet next, I believe. So sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I'll just do some silly little doodles. Sometimes I'll just try drawing eyes or something like that. It's just one of those things, keep, like if you want to get better, maybe set up like a little like try and almost set up like your own little class essentially. So like be like, I want to try to learn this thing first, and then focus. Maybe you want to learn how to draw hands, so maybe you spend a week learning hands and learning how to simplify them and stuff. But to focus some time to art and just, yes, that's also huge too, because like the constant need to get better, right? So if you're always trying to draw to improve, to draw to post online, to draw and make money off it, or whatever it is you want to do, it's going to stop feeling like something you enjoy, and it's just going to start feeling like work. Eventually that work, it might start just feeling like torture, and it's not going to be fun. So honestly, it is just fun to sit down and doodle in your notebook or like in a sketchbook while watching TV or something like that. Because like it honestly, I would honestly recommend before you do any drawing session, like before like you sit down to study, before you sit down to like you know really anything, take like 5-10 minutes and just doodle. Like just it doesn't matter if you're drawing cubes, doesn't matter if you're trying to draw a character from a manga, or you're just trying to draw, I don't know, Kirby wearing a baseball cap and whatever, just draw whatever comes to mind for like 10-15 minutes. And what you're doing with that as well is you're getting like that rust off, right? You're kind of like, you know, you're kind of like getting into the rhythm of drawing. You're turning your brain from the cognitive side of like of numbers and facts and stuff like that to the more creative side. Yeah, that's something I learned not long ago as well, because it's just one of those things like you don't think of it, right? But by like sometimes like my one a sketchbook that I recently filled, there's like a lot of pages where I just like one half my sketch like the one page is like where I do my work, and the back of that page or the back of like the previous page is where I just do this. Sometimes I'll just do like little circles or swirls. Sometimes I'll just do like stars, whatever. Just do what you can to kind of just like get your brain thinking, and then just draw random lines, draw whatever comes to mind, and then when you're like, oh, let me try to draw, that squirrel or something you see outside, turn your mind to that. If you see something on your coffee table, whatever, or instead you're drawing on a tablet, if you see something on your desk, maybe try sketching that. Just keep your mind open, fresh, and just feeling ready. And if there is ever a point where you're like, you know what, I think I need to stop, let yourself rest. Like, drawing every day, drawing regularly is important, but at the same time, drawing too much or drawing yourself to exhaustion is just going to lead to burnout. It's going to lead to you feeling frustrated, exhausted, and like, and like every artist will reach those points, like, but just allowing yourself to have fun with it is huge. And it is one of those things, like, especially if you want to start like designing characters or whatever it is. Like you mentioned yesterday, you want to draw like manga. Hard to manage with my tendency to hyperfixate. Yes, it will be hard to manage. Like, it is very hard because like if there are moments where you're into it, you're having a good time, go with it. And there might be days too where maybe you're not feeling particularly motivated, but you still want to draw. Honestly, do it, because try like all like this is kind of like a contradiction, because like it's a little weird, because I just got done drawing, just saying like draw to have fun, but also if you're not feeling particularly motivated but you still want to draw to like keep into the habit and you have free time, because time is a big thing, right? Drawing is a process. You can learn to draw fast, but learn to draw good first, and then speed up the process later if you're feeling like you need to speed run it. But like just taking the time to like sorry, my brain shut off there. My ADHD brain kicked in. It was like just turn off the TV. That is my brain. But yeah, like just kind of taking that time. Oh yeah, I'm there now. So like when you're not feeling particularly motivated, but you still want to draw, you have the time. Honestly, just sitting down, doodling whatever that comes to mind. So like rather than like forcing yourself to draw hands or whatever, or whatever like that. By just doodling, letting yourself your mind wander, you might you might create the inspiration, but don't always wait for the motivation or inspiration to draw. Spent 3 restless nights scheming what to learn, and I'm still feeling overwhelmed. But at least I know that fundamentals is something I should focus on, along with fun scribbles on the side and whatnot. Yeah, So kind of what I recommend, and this is just from like what worked for me. Um, so like fundamentals are important, right? You have like form, gesture, lighting. There's more, but it's a whole list. Um, that stuff is important, and dabbling in all of them is also important. But knowing what is important to, or learning what is important to what it is you want to draw, is valuable as well. But I know this is just a lot of words, but basically, since you want to draw manga, so understanding like what goes into manga drawing. So look at some your favorite mangas out there, uh, and be like, so look at like a scene, like a panel, and be like, what is important in this panel, right? And if you look at that panel, you'd be like, okay, it kind of reminds you, or for me, it reminds me of like a movie, right? Each panel is basically like a camera shot, or like a picture. So understanding, um, like lighting's important. Understanding, come on, brain, come on, brain. Composition. So where your subject is in the frame is also important. Um, Understanding, like obviously how to draw a person and that sort of stuff is also important too, so on and so forth. So once you know that, being like, okay, where do I want to start, and picking like a little bit of each thing to learn. And the thing is, you don't have to rush. You don't have to like force yourself to like learn everything in one sitting, and just kind of create your own like study curriculum. I guess it's the best way to put it. Both manga will not really put a lot of effort into a scene unless it requires to captivate the reader. So the stuff like Dragon Ball where fights are neat together stuff. Yeah. So even though it looks like a lot of like in a lot of scenes where maybe nothing's happening or like they're just talking, that is where it's still important to get your composure, your compositions down, right? Because you don't want to confuse the audience with like how many characters are, for example, in a room talking. You don't want to. This is learn steady, but also have fun, make it an adventure. Yeah, honestly. Um, and like there might be times too where you can't draw because of life. It happens. Don't beat yourself up over it. Get back into it when you can. Um, Drawing every day is valuable, but that's one of those things where you'll hear a lot from people that might tell you just to study or just draw every day, or. But that's one of those things where, like, if you don't know what you're learning, what you're drawing, it doesn't help, right? I could tell you to like go study, English or computer coding or something like that. But if I'm not giving you direction with that, it doesn't help you at all, right? So it's one of those things where like, knowing like what is important for you to learn is big, but also because you're a beginner, I'm still a beginner myself. It's hard to know what's important, which is why I do recommend looking up composition, what makes composition important, what makes lighting important, what makes XYZ important, basically. Yeah, that's what I fear. People always give like go do X, but if you can't apply it, then it's a waste. And well, how am I supposed to know when I'm applying it right? That's that's the thing. I've been studying I've been struggling with that for so long, right? Because it's one of those things where people will tell me to just just draw, just do this, just do that, and it's like it doesn't help me if I don't know what I'm doing. Like, so, which is where for me, I'm like just how my brain works. I'm very much I'm not much of a show me how to do it, and I can do it. I'm a, why am I doing this way? Why am I, you know, if you're drawing like a face, why do you do this and then this? You know, why do you, like, what's, you know, why am I drawing these guidelines? Not because it helps you draw. That's obvious. Um, it's like, it's to help better capture the form in a more, you know, lively way, or to, you know, it's one of those things where I need to know the why rather than the how, for my brain to be like, right, that's how that works. Does that, and I just stare dumbfounded. Yeah, exactly. It's like when you're in school and the teacher tells you to study. It's like, study what? How? What am I doing? Give me some guidelines here. In that way, why that shape, etc. Till you quite understand. Yeah, it's the just learn, like, mindset of it, and like, but yeah, for me, I found that helped a lot because like I did have like how to draw books growing up, and I picked up a couple like down the road as well, where it's like, here's how you draw an anime face, and it's like from like a 3/4 perspective, kind of like, sort of like look at the camera kind of like off to the side, and then like you know, how to draw that face, how to draw one face, you know, head on. And it's like those might be helpful to draw that specific thing, but if you're not like if you're not learning how to draw that head from another angle, it might not help as much as you would like. That you can use while watching something or drawing, and it actually tells you why to do something, and not just clue this commitment. Yeah, yeah. I also hated that in like drawing book, where it's like, here's step 1, draw 2 lines. Here's step 2, you know, draw a circle. Here's step 3, everything's done. And it's like, did I miss something? Is there a page ripped out of this book? I feel like we're missing like a couple steps. Yeah, step 1, draw a line. Step 4, finish it. But yeah, like that's at least what I've learned, and like something that you know, for me that I study with, or I struggle with, and it's a big one is foreshortening, which is basically if something is coming toward, like, moving is closer to the camera. So as you can see, like with this lady's leg here, this is closer to the view. Um, so if I were to draw her leg here as, like, let's say like a tube, this would be like 1/2 the tube, and it would kind of come down, and this would be like the other half the tube kind of thing. So it's kind of coming towards the camera. Whereas if it was like this, like here, the tube kind of goes down, and you can't really see like the circles of it, if that makes sense, like the ends of it. So I'm still getting used to the fact of like how to draw it so it looks like it's coming towards the camera. Like, I'm getting better, but it's still one of those things that I still struggle with heavily. Imagine depth type of deal. Yeah. Which is very hard to do. Yeah, it's very much perspective. So like, even like with this leg here, though it looks okay, I feel like I might have made her her stomach and pelvis area maybe a little too big. Like something went wrong in this area. I could maybe shave off like a little bit here if I wanted to. But for the most part, I got it pretty much right. Like I think the part goes up a bit more, maybe, and then just kind of goes up like that a bit. But that's where objects closer are, well, closer, and objects further are smaller. Yeah, like that is like the very, obviously like the base level, but trying to get that on paper is one of those things where maybe like for you maybe it's something that like clicks for you. For me, it's one of those things that it just doesn't. Like I understand the concept, but putting it into practice, especially since I can't see stuff in my brain, it's very difficult to get like the concept of something moving towards me on a 2D space. And I know like a lot of artists also struggle with that as well. Because it's just one of those things where it's just like how can people do that? And like I've gotten better, but it's still one of those things where I have a long way to go. Yeah, so we got kind of like the rough body shape here. We got like a top or like a sports bra kind of thing, like a bikini. That's the word. That um, and her shorts are kind of the looks of it. Sports bra kind of goes, or her bikini kind of goes there. I think if I tell my imagination to think about art, then it will just overclock me. Constantly daily is tiring as hell. At the end of the day, I can do nothing and still feel extremely wore out midday sometimes. Oh yeah, 100%. I know, like with my ADHD, like my brain is constantly going. It's constantly thinking, constantly pondering. Like it's very rare that my brain is ever silent. And something that I also struggle with as well is like there are some drawing techniques where you do use a lot of lines to help get like the, the, the general shape of something down. But I have a habit of like once the page starts getting too muddied, it makes it so difficult for me to even like stay focused. So it's one of those things where I try to get as much information as I can on my page with as few of lines as possible, if that makes sense. And then I try to build off of that. But it's also something I kind of struggle with. Now, if I wanted to, we can ink this if I wanted. So normally what I would do if I was drawing this like on paper, to ink it, I would take like my kneadable eraser, clean up like kind of like clean up the lines, pick up a lot of like the pencil markings, and then I'll grab a pen and go over it. And then once the pen dries, erase the rest of the lines that are kind of still remaining. But I'm using digital, so I can just make a new layer and be like, haha. I don't have to do that step. Yeah, I noticed that as well. It's one of those things where there's benefits and there's like downsides to that, right? The benefits are like you can more easily edit and change and adjust that arm or that leg or torso if need be. The downside is also like you do end up becoming almost too reliant on layers. It's one of those things where it's like kind of pick and like I'm trying to like get better at at not over relying on them, but using them if I need to. So like if I was like it probably if you're like doing like an actual artwork for someone and you want like make it look good as perfect as possible. That's the thing too, right? Like it's one of those things where like if it's a feature, you might as well use it. And especially like if you're drawing something for someone or you're trying to draw something for like commissions or whatever, like just try to make it as good as possible. It's like it's good to do. Um, uh, and like it makes it so like afterwards, oh, this is slightly off. You can turn it or tweak it, and like it's especially good if you want to do animations, right? Because you can better animate an arm if it's not attached to the body. Now, something that my OCD brain does is I don't like my layers to not be named. So once I'm done with the sketch, I'm going to name everything. And the reason for that is because a while back, I was working on the kind of like a Pokemon landscape as like a fun thing. And like I mentioned this like a few streams ago. And like I'll bring it up now just because I feel like it's relevant. But the thing with this landscape that I was working on, I was trying to draw every part of it separately. The downside of it is I wasn't labeling it. So basically, all the layers just became a muddy kind of just. I didn't know what I was tweaking, what I was doing, and it drove me so mad that I just dropped the project. Let me find it. There it is. So this is what I was working on the one time, like a couple years ago, I want to say. And like all these layers here, like I tried going through, I tried naming them, but it was hard to like figure out like which layer was what like where things like belonged, and it just became so muddy that I was like, you know what, this is so tedious. I'm not having fun with this, and I scrapped it. And then trying to get like the layers correct and all that, it just became a mess. Like you can see, like I went through it and tried to name them, but it was just like it was not great. um, so now I try to like get into a better habit at naming stuff. Like I'm still pretty proud of this. Like I do like how like the mountains look, like how the sky looks. Eventually, I would have gotten into like rendering, like shading, like I think her name's Chloe, Ash, and all them, and Evie there. Like I would have gotten like a bit more details in there, but I was just kind of like I'm so like overwhelmed that I just kind of scrapped it. Huh. The annoying part, which is tracing the liner and then coloring it. So basically, what I would recommend doing first is almost doing like a cleanup layer and then your liner, which is kind of like what I'm doing now. I'm doing like the cleanup layer. I did say I was inking this essentially, but that's a mistake that I keep doing that I have to stop. So basically, I'm just kind of redrawing over it as I realize I should probably make that arm line a little bigger. Also realize that I'm adding more definition to the elbow than I need. Now that I'm looking at this. elbow seemed pretty sharp for a second there. Yeah, I kind of realized that. And that's also like where it's good to also like kind of clean up your lines. Like, you know, as I said, like it can get very muddy, at least to me. So cleaning your lines up before you add like ink or whatever it is you're trying to do is a good way to kind of like find any mistakes that you might have overlooked or might not have noticed during your early sketching phase. It's kind of like sketching but for real now. It's also something I'm trying to get better at, and this is something a lot of beginner artists do. It's the chicken scratching. It's that kind of like trying to like to form the line kind of thing, and like this can be good to help get like definition. But it's one of those things where like when you're doing, or like if you're doing like the rough sketch, trying to get like the rough like shape, where it becomes a problem when you're a new artist is like what I'm doing here kind of thing is I keep trying to like do the chicken scratches when I'm doing a more definitive, confident line. So because I'm not sticking with that confident line, it ends up feeling like a little off. It ends up being more muddy than I'm intending it to be. I still find myself doing the chicken scratch stuff. Yeah, every beginner artist will do that, and it's something that what it is you're not confident with your lines yet. You're not confident in like being like, I know what I'm drawing. This is how it's going to look. I'm going to put that on paper. And I think something that I do is I'm not going like it's something that I'm working on as well. Once again, like you're going to discover a lot about your habits by doing this. Is something that I realize I do is I go into a drawing thinking I know what I'm doing. I don't. Straight up. But my brain's like, oh, I know what an arm looks like, so I'm just going to draw an arm. And frankly, we'll learn that school teaches me pure garbage when it comes to art. Pretty much, yeah, honestly. So when I go into like trying to draw something, I have the confidence to try and start it, but I don't have the confidence to know what. Like, I don't have the brain confidence or the skill to tell my arm what to do, with like while on autopilot. So my brain almost just goes on autopilot, basically. Like, I know what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna do it while thinking about it. And because I don't know what I'm doing, because I don't understand like the fundamentals to any real solid degree, my brain starts going, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, so let's just try to roughly, scratch it out. And even now, when I'm trying to like somewhat trace over my lines, my brain is still like, this is super easy. Turning off, going into autopilot mode, tick, and then my brain goes, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna start trying to make a shape here. I'm getting it. Chicken scratch is bad, and I should banish it to hell right now. Like once again, like in your initial sketch, the chicken scratches aren't bad. It's when you're adding your more definitive lines where it ends up being a problem. So like, if I was like, let's say drawing this on like, your pen and paper, and I'm trying to like get like the rough shape down kind of thing, and I'm trying to like get like the rough fold of her legs and whatever, and then okay, there's a bit more like shadow here, so I add a few more lines. I kind of add that like definition. Like the chicken scratching can work in that sense. So if it's a liner, it's fine. But if I'm tracing lines, I shouldn't do. So basically, if you're sketching, like the chicken scratches are okay, because what it is your brain trying to add definition to what you're looking at. So, so yeah, it's like you're kind of getting like your definition, your shape, and once again, I'm still pretty new. I could be completely wrong. It's like you're kind of getting the shape, kind of like mapping it out, and then like you're basically using all those like lines to get one solid line in there, if that makes sense. And then the rest of the lines are you helping to add shadow and definition to it. And then like when you're like, and this once again drawing more realistic stuff with anime and like manga, they are more simplistic, but then you have to get good at knowing hatching and shading to help emphasize what it is you want to focus on. So once again, it it um it kind of feeds back into like the fundamentals of just like knowing lighting and that sort of stuff. But yeah, like the rough sketches, if you're trying to draw like from life and stuff like that, like the rough chicken scratches here, they're fine to get the rough idea, right? It doesn't need to be perfect. Your sketch, honestly, I'm gonna tell you this: your sketch, what it the first initial thing you're getting on paper doesn't need to be perfect, doesn't need to be good, doesn't it just needs to get the rough idea. Then if you want to add better lines later, right? So now that I'm in like the actual like cleaning up the lines, then you start trying to like actually pay attention to the shape of what it is you're trying to do. If that makes sense. Once again, I'm still learning. I'm mostly just repeating what I've learned. But and like it, and like that's just kind of what I've realized works for me. But yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at. Starting off into starting into that is, I'm glad it's helping. Like I'm trying to explain it the best way I can with very limited knowledge. But like yeah, it is very much a like it's a lot to wrap your head around, right? It's so much to fully wrap and grasp, and I'm still learning. See, once again, I'm doing the chicken scratches, but like it's one of those things where, um, like it's so much to learn. The the terminology is confusing. It's a lot to fully understand, and like once again, like this is just surface level. This is just like the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more depth that you can get into when it comes to art, when it comes to anatomy or landscapes or whatever it is. There's so much more depth that you can get into that, like, just knowing the base, like the top is like the surface is a lot to even compromise. More information than people online so far, so thanks for that, man. No problem. Realism jump scare. But yeah, it's just, and like once again, I'm mostly just speaking from experience. What I've kind of learned going into this, what I learned from what what tutorials, what lessons don't haven't worked for me, what has worked for me, and it's just a learning process. And there might come a time where, like, maybe a lesson that you're learning isn't working for you, right? So a common face drawing method is like the, what's it called? This is not it. It's like the box method for drawing faces. I can't think of what it's called. But basically, it's like using like a cube to basically map out the proportions of a face. To being like, okay, so this is like where the ear is, kind of thing. The chin would kind of come down here, kind of come up here, kind of thing. So like just one of those methods that like I get it in concept, but it doesn't work for me. It's one of those things where like I have a hard time like fully utilizing this, but you can still take stuff from it and be like, oh, maybe this method might be useful in other applications or something like that, or maybe once I get a little more knowledge under my belt, maybe I can find uses for it, or maybe you might just take a lesson that you learn and completely rework it to work. Um, like it's whatever helps you get what you're trying to draw, like what you're envisioning on paper, onto your tablet, onto whatever medium it is you're working with. But like it's understanding like the fundamentals and stuff like that helps to allow you to also learn, like once you know the fundamentals, once you know like whatever it is you're trying to draw, you can also better know how to break it, if that makes sense. So like if you're trying to get into anime or like let's say cartooning or something like that, knowing how to exaggerate, knowing when to do certain things is important, because if you do too much, it can become unsettling. It might not look real. Like there's a reason like why anime, even though the eyes are exaggerated, and like other the heads are a little bigger, eyes are a bit more exaggerated. The reason why that works and why you can probably imagine someone looking like that person, like when I look at like a character in like an anime, I'm a fan of like the Persona games, right? So if I look at like a character from Persona, even though the features are exaggerated, I'm able to almost see that person as an actual person. It's because the artist knew what to exaggerate. So with manga and anime, eyes are exaggerated to draw detail to eyes, but the noses are very simple. Mouths are usually simple. Some artists may add a bit more detail. It's up to the artist. But knowing where to exaggerate features is key. Is like essential for character design and making like good believable characters, and learning how to like break out of a mold, maybe make your own, like create your own art style, that sort of thing. Um, Learning how to kind of break those little like those knowing like, oh, if I exaggerate the eyes and simplify the nose, it looks more realistic than um than if you like exaggerated everything. Because if you exaggerated everything on, let's say, a character's face, then it becomes too busy, it becomes too loud, and it starts to feel too alien, maybe too foreign. So that's one of the things where it's like, okay, but knowing that now, if you wanted to like, let's say, exaggerate certain stuff of a character to make them stand out, so like looking at like, so like if you want to make a character look evil or maybe creepy or like they're from another planet, knowing like, oh, okay, maybe if I exaggerate the ears like crazy and the nose or something like that, or knowing what to edit and what to adjust is just like yeah, basically just knowing how to adjust what like the base design of something will help you just to create and understand. Sorry, my brain shut off again. I hate this about like ADHD. My brain was just like, it was like on a track. I knew what I was saying. I knew where I was ending up, and then my brain was just like tip and knocked the train off the track. Yeah, hopefully that made some sort of sense. Like knowing the thing that you want to draw helps you to break or exaggerate those features. She has some muscle tone. Kind of upper arm and a little bit on the lower arm here. Now, I did make this arm a little too long. Oopsie doodles. Can I fix that in any way? Possibly. Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do for this is and the arm a bit more down. That should theoretically make it look a little better, and then it does kind of move out a little bit more. Let me make one more adjustment. So it's slightly different. Like I wasn't too far off. And then it kind of comes out. Here. Okay. I gotta get better at trying not to twist my wrist like a pretzel and just turning the page. got to just go ahead and this person and lock and report or spam. There we go. Spam. Well, it's spam, but it's also a bot. I feel like I can select multiples of these and be accurate, but let's go bot. And this is spam bot. All right, there we go. And submit that report and get on with my drawing. You know what though? Haven't had a bot like that show up in a couple days. That was nice, not having them show up. This I haven't had a fucking salesman try to sell me their art. Then they clearly use AI. Try and keep my posture good. Trying to keep that in mind so I don't like damage my back any more than already is damaged. Yeah, that explains why this part of the leg is feeling a little rough. It's because I didn't make it long enough. That's okay. Hey, welcome back. Here's a nightmare to get right. I don't know how people memorize it. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's taken me a little bit. I don't love this. I think where I went wrong with this is maybe the head's a little too flat. But yeah, hair is very difficult to like get right. There's like a little like strap or something there. And short, kind of round. Black line. Stripe going across there. I have a white stripe here, sort of. And we got some like separation of color there. Seems like anime art to doing strokes for hair makes it look more natural, but it's more of a challenge, not gonna lie. Yeah, hair is just it's one of those things where it's so hard to like get right. Because like if you do it wrong, it looks stiff, it looks like plasticky, or it doesn't look like it's part of the person, like it's like a clip, like a clip-on hair or something like that. So it's very difficult to like get stuff right when it comes to that sort of thing. Now what's that? Yeah, it could be. Yeah, we'll see about that. Could also be because like I also made like the strap a little thicker, and like it's hard to see like the image here because it's so small. But in the image, I'm looking at like a bigger version of it. There's like what looks to be like something like where like the strap of the bra like gets tied on. So there's a bit more like of like the material there. Can't really make it big enough to show at the moment. But yeah, it has that like little bit. So I'm trying to like add that detail to it. Since it is kind of hard to spot, maybe what I'll do is just um, like her spine is here, and it kind of goes like this to the spine, and then kind of that. Kinda like that kind of thing. slightly at the same level. Maybe. Cause this is like one of those perspectives too, where like she is twisting. So like her spine is here, and then because she's twisting, and like kind of like her leg is up. Like I did kind of make a mistake where once again the perspective got in my way, so I made her stomach feel a bit more like down. Realistically, this part of the body should be like higher up, essentially. Like this part of the body here should be higher up, and it kind of goes into this, and then her spine kind of, obviously continues, but you can't see it because it's connected behind her leg and her butt. Yeah, so it arches. Yeah, so it does arch. I, with like my limited ability to like capture that depth, failed to do that. So because of that, I can't quite get it to look like that. And I could like just keep trying to redraw, try and get this to like look right, look perfect. But it's one of those things where I can see that error, and I'm gonna try to learn from this in my next drawing. And like this is a particularly like difficult like pose as well, right? Because she's bending, she's moving. There's a lot of foreshortening happening, but it's very subtle foreshortening where you might not even notice it just by looking at it, right? Like this leg is this leg here is closer to quite good aside from that one mistake. Yeah, that's one of the things where like look at like your small victories when it comes to your artwork, right? Like I made a mistake here. This is a pretty bad mistake, right? But at the same time, this part looks pretty solid. This arm, pretty decent arm, all things considered, right? Even though I messed up with this leg, this foot, that's a good foot. Yeah, exactly. Like, and like looking back at where you were, so like where I was, a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, like being like, I would not have had the confidence to stream myself drawing. That's why I didn't do a lot of drawing streams in the past. I did not have the confidence to do it. Now I know enough of my skill level. I know where I'm at. I know where I want to get to. Once I get to that point, I'll have a new goal that I want to get to. I know where I came from. So it's one of the things where, yes, there are mistakes here. And I can look at them and be like, yeah, I see mistakes. But I can also look at this and be like, here is where I grow. So being able to be like, to point out, like, it's easy to look at all your flaws. It's easy to look at all your mistakes because it's what is running through your mind constantly as an artist. But being able to also look at how much you've improved is going to save your sanity so much, because it's going to allow you to like realize like, holy shit, I actually did this. Like I remember was it like a month or two ago or so? I don't remember what it was I was working on, but I just sat down and just started drawing a face. Like no hesitation, no this might be tough, maybe I shouldn't do it. I just sat down and did it. It might not have been perfect, but it showed just how much confidence I gained in drawing that subject. And then it's like, and then I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay, these parts actually look pretty decent. This part, this stuff doing these work. Hair is a big thing I struggle with still, but it is one of those things where acknowledging the little victories that you've made along the way is going to make you feel so much better about your art. And I think to know, just to remember, even like the best artists you can think of probably don't like the art, or they're probably not confident, or they probably see all the mistakes. They probably don't feel that their art is good. And that's just because, as an artist, that's all you see. You only see the mistakes. You only know I had to erase this line. I struggled on this part. I struggled getting the hand right in this pose. I struggled getting the butt right in this pose or something like that. Like this tree looks stupid kind of thing. I spent like 8 hours drawing this tree kind of thing, right? So I don't think like you only see the best artists probably have twice the amount of failed mistakes before you get to see the fun. Exactly. Like, like the issue with like social media, and this is why like when I post my stuff on Instagram, I do post the bad stuff quite a bit as well, not all of it. Uh, and that's because like I when I was getting into art, I realized just people do only post the best stuff. And in a way, I get it, right? You're an artist, you're trying to make money, you put your best foot forward, you're trying to like be like, this is what I can do. But that also discourages new artists who's like, I can't draw like that. This person, woke up one day and they're just really good at art, and now look at them, right? And it's like that's not the case. You know, some like the idea of like talent, like people waking up with the ability to do it, that doesn't exist. Someone might be a more might learn something more naturally given their upbringing, but no one wakes up one day just I'm a pro at art. I can draw like perfect renditions of people, and I've never picked up a pencil before. Maybe there's like the one exception. There's always exceptions, right? But 99% of the time, it's going to be like a time thing, and everyone will learn stuff, at a different pace. You might be able to learn, one thing in like a couple hours and be really good at it, and then you might, maybe you learn how to draw arms really, really quickly, and you're just like, I get it, it clicks. And then you might try and draw a face, and maybe you just can't get a face to look right for like 5 months, and then you just, you keep practicing, you keep studying, you keep learning, and eventually, like, you will get better. But the thing is, like, all artists started from somewhere, right? And even like if you look at someone like like there's a few artists I like that I follow on Instagram. One of my favorite artists that is a huge inspiration to me is Ross Strauss. I love his art. It's so fucking beautiful, stunning to me, and like I think he's also made video stuff, going into like his mistakes and all that kind of stuff as well. But it's one of those things where like I look at his art. In the back of my mind, there's a small voice that's like, I'll never get to that. But I try to shut out that voice because that guy's an asshole. That voice, I'm not referring to. Yeah, you guys get it. And I go, you know, this artist started from somewhere, and you know, in the case of it's Ross Strauss, he obviously started at a point where he didn't know what he was doing, and then he got better, and then once he got better more. And I'm pretty sure, like, and once again, I'm pretty sure he's done videos where he said that he doesn't like how stuff turned out. And I look at that same artwork and I'm like, it's fucking gorgeous, but it's once again it's because he sees all the flaws. That's just how artists are. Like, it pisses me off how they're better. I will beat them all, and I don't know why. No, I can see that. It's the like the FU energy, right? It's the I can do this just as well. Yeah, no, I honestly I do see that, right? There is a level of like you want to get better. So I can almost see like the competitive side. Like, I'm not very competitive, but yeah, it is one of those. Like I can definitely see like that like desire to get better, the desire to be like I'm going to surpass these people. But also, once again, remember art is also very subjective, right? So you might look at an artist and be like, "This is fantastic." Someone else might look at their art and be like, "This is awful." Why? You don't know, but it is a thing that a lot of people can do, and and like a lot of people will do. You know, someone might look at like the Mona Lisa, for example, and be like, "This is just a portrait of a person," and move on. Someone else might look at it and be like, "Oh, the line work or like the brush work and whatever is fantastic," or whatever. But yeah, that's just how it is. Okay, so do I want to clean this up a bit more, add better lines, or do I want to move on? I think I'm gonna move on. I think I want to do one more. Let's just. We don't need to do like a fine line. We can just keep this as is, like a cleaner line. We'll gotta undo all my circles. Then delete this layer. And let's make a folder. Oh, I hit the wrong thing. Hopefully that didn't fuck anything up. I feel like it fucked something up. I'm just going to. Yep, it fused it with the bottom. Okay, that should be good now. Make this. There's something in the end, and a spark to keep going. Yeah, exactly. Nice. So let's see how that looks like once I remove. Yeah, that looks okay. Like, if I wanted to get more more detail, I would add shading. I would add like more details and stuff like that. But for now, I'm pretty happy with this. I can move on. All right, let's generate another image. What can not generate? Just kind of like switch to the next one. Interesting. Okay. This one might be a little weird, actually. Um, copy image. My brain shut off there for a second. Let's quickly. I'm just gonna take a get a picture of this. So first, I'll just save this file. Save this as a PNG. That. Okay. Now. I could just start a new, say, Honestly, I might do that actually. New file. With the picture I'm looking at, it's actually better horizontal. I mean, yeah, horizontal. Now let's copy and paste this image into the thing. Alright, so we got a guy jumping, kind of doing the splits. Oops. Guess I didn't click the thing. Okay. Take a second. Alright. So, looking at this. Interesting. I haven't actually drawn someone yet, like, jumping. Or, like, this high up in the air. There's usually, like, a foot or something on the ground. So this is interesting. Let's make the center line kind of here. This would be, like, his spine. Fresh start, so this is the bottom layer. So looking at this image, he's in the air, but he's not perfectly horizontal. He's on a slight turn. It's like a slight tail, so it just a straight, he's like this. Just the slightest of like tilts. That's interesting. And his upper body is kind of leaning towards the camera a little bit. Let's say about, this would be fine. Hips and pelvis line. Kind of goes out. Maybe like the knee here. This side goes up as well. I'm trying to get my arm to bend in a way that it doesn't bend. shoulder, just kind of his shoulder line to say. His shoulders actually kind of go like this. And then also we'll add like a marking for his shoe. Sides basically the same, but a little different with the hand. shoulders are about here. So let's see, they're fairly large. Now his shirt is kind of making a bit of like an illusion where looks like this part of the shirt here is like it's kind of like making his arm, like his upper body look more like starfishy. He does have pretty big, like, shoulder muscles. Try and capture that. Best of my ability. Like that. Like, it's kind of getting pushed along by the end, and it makes it look puffy. Yeah, it kind of like almost creates like a weird illusion, right? Like, yeah, it makes it look puffy, but this guy is like very toned, right? He's very muscular, but it creates like this like almost, yeah, like puffy kind of slightly bloatedness. Not bloated, but like airiness to it. I also realize I'm doing the issue where I'm not accounting for perspective. So this is like his upper body, but I'm not quite accounting perspective at the moment. So let me actually try to fix that while I'm in the early sketching phase. So, and this is where like digital might come in handy. I might need to drag the upper part down. But his top half is kind of like, oops, that's not what I want. He's kind of going back a little bit. I think his upper body is a bit more. I also might need to move this shoulder down. yeah. And then there's a little bit of body here and here. Mostly it's like the front half of his chest and the bottom half. His legs are like the main focal point. This part is kind of being like squished. So right now I'm using like the chicken scratches to also try and get the like sort of the definition of like his muscular form. So like eventually, if I were to like render this and add light up here where I'm drawing, wouldn't be as thick just because of like the lighting of this image. But right now, I'm just trying to get like this rough, like his rough form in there. Again, don't bend my wrist in ways that it doesn't bend me. That's how you get injured, and then you can't draw for a week. Now this arm is a little bit more spread out, or his this hand, I mean. for his lower torso. Honestly, I think I put his kneecap in the wrong spot when I was drawing the line. Kneecap is actually over here. I see where I'm going wrong. So I'm drawing from looking at his shorts, so like this line here, but I'm not taking into account the rest of his leg. That's where I'm getting like this like bad angle from, like this like slightly wrong size. So I got some lines to clean up here. Try and get like the toneness of his leg, of his heel, or his ankle, I mean. Now, this will start filling out in this direction. Kneecap is here. Okay, that side I'm accidentally making too scrawny. I think it is because of the perspective of the bed as well. Kneecap is like here. I got the perspective, once again, a little off with his lower torso. That's okay. All part of learning. Air it a bit more. And then just add some quick clothes. Because I'm gonna probably be packing up soon, and my arm, my wrist is getting a little sore. I should probably stop before I injure myself. Just add some quick clothes in. You know, I don't think I've ever seen like a hoodie T-shirt before. Yeah, I think we can wrap it up here. Like as I said, my wrist is starting to hurt a little bit. I don't want to injure myself. This was fun. This was a nice little exercise. I'll probably be like drawing throughout the week as well. So if you do want to see my progress, feel free to follow me on like Instagram. I post all my I post all my like work in progresses, all my sketches. Not all, but like a good portion of my sketches and stuff like that. Just to show my progress. I posted some yesterday, I want to say, of some sketches I did. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for hanging out, Mr. Rubber Ducky. It's always nice having you around. And yeah, I should be back next week. Not sure when I'm going to stream Wednesday. Since I'm almost done with Pokemon Blue, I don't want to start anything long. Because once I'm done with Pokemon Blue, I want to start playing through Yakuza 4. So I don't want to start anything long because I'm going to jump immediately from Pokemon to streaming Yakuza 2 days a week. Maybe 3 if I want to sacrifice a couple drawing streams to do so. But yeah, so and considering I beat both gym leaders, like the last 2 gym leaders, I just have the Elite Four to do. It is possible that I just finish Pokemon next week. So maybe I don't know. I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll stream something fun and simple. Let me know if you guys want to see anything. And thank you everyone for hanging out. And I'll see you all in the next video or next stream. Bye for now.